Detachment is not that you should own nothing, but that nothing should own you. Ali ibn Abi Talib. The world out there never stops testing you. Pressure, anxiety, and unexpected events all come crashing down like endless waves, sometimes leaving you exhausted, even lost, not knowing what to cling to. There are times when you feel like you're standing in the middle of a storm, and steering the ship of your own life isn't easy at all. The more you try to control everything, the more worn out and isolated you become in your own existence. But you know what? Even in the eye of the storm, you can still find a solid anchor within yourself. Stoic philosophy, especially the art of letting go at the right moment, does not ask you to be indifferent or to surrender to fate. Instead, it encourages you to face things head-on, to courageously choose what matters and hold on to it, while letting the winds carry away whatever lies beyond your control. When you learn to pause, be still, and observe your life instead of endlessly chasing or resisting, you'll realize true freedom starts from within. I invite you to join me on this journey toward living proactively, steadfastly, reclaiming clarity and peace, no matter how stormy life gets. Watch this entire video because what you've been searching for all along might be right here in this very experience. 1. Focus on self-mastery. This world has never been within your control, a harsh truth no one wants to hear, yet everyone has experienced. You might meticulously plan your day, scheduling every minute for tomorrow, but all it takes is an unexpected call, a sudden rainstorm, or a news headline on social media, and everything falls apart. Modern men are especially prone to getting trapped in the spiral of trying to control everything out of reach: work, family, relationships, even massive societal changes. The typical result: endless fatigue, constant disappointment whenever life doesn't go your way. Stop lying to yourself. The more you try to control everything, the more you wear down your spirit and lose the peace inside. Stoicism doesn't teach us to become indifferent or to give up. On the contrary, it advises us to focus our efforts on the one thing we can truly control: ourselves. Your mind, your emotions, your reactions, and your choices. This is the only territory where you hold absolute power. I'll never forget the story of Kyle, a project manager friend, a typical image of the modern man. Kyle was always the type to keep a tight grip, from scheduling every minute, overseeing every team member's work, down to even the smallest details at home. If anyone deviated from the plan, he would instantly get irritated, lose sleep, and scramble to fix everything. It reached its peak when Kyle's major project collapsed because of a completely unexpected factor from a partner. That day, he sat quietly in a cafe, gripping his espresso cup, staring blankly out the window. He said, "I did everything I could, but everything still fell apart. I feel helpless, angry, and truly exhausted." This isn't just Kyle's story. Maybe you've been there too, putting in effort day after day, but a single small incident can wipe out all your hard work. So often, we waste energy trying to change others, clinging to outcomes, or even trying to control the emotions of those around us. This is a fundamental mistake and also the deepest lesson of Stoicism. We can't master the world, but we can always master ourselves. But even self-mastery shouldn't be some rigid, iron-fisted discipline. The truth is, we ourselves are full of mysteries. The concept of self-mastery is often misunderstood as the need to constantly force ourselves into a mold, to control every thought and emotion like a machine. But life doesn't work that way. Each of us is part of a bigger dance where fate, circumstances, memories, and even deep instincts blend, sometimes guiding us in unexpected ways. No one is the absolute lead in this dance. So, instead of pursuing rigid mastery, open yourself to your own mysteries. Self-mystery means being curious about yourself, accepting both your weaknesses and hidden potential, and being humble before the unpredictable parts inside you. See yourself as a companion, sometimes leading, sometimes listening, sometimes stepping forward, sometimes letting go, sometimes moving, sometimes pausing. Back to Kyle. Everything only started to change when he dared to face his feelings of helplessness instead of running from them. He learned to distinguish what he should focus on, being proactive, his attitude, his response choices, and what he should let go, expectations, perfectionism, the urge to control everyone. Gradually, Kyle allowed himself more flexibility, planning carefully but not clinging, accepting that failure is sometimes just a step in the process of growth. When setbacks happened, instead of blaming others or self-punishing, he focused on restoring his energy, regaining composure before making the next decision. This is not a process that happens overnight. Awakening comes from the smallest things. In the morning, instead of hurriedly checking emails, you take 2 minutes to breathe deeply and notice how you feel inside. When you're irritated with a coworker, you ask yourself, what am I reacting to? Is this something I can control? Every day, you proactively choose to exercise, read, or simply allow yourself to rest at the right time, instead of getting swept up in the hectic pressure of managing everything. That's how you truly master yourself, not by becoming numb to the world, but by knowing your boundaries, channeling your energy into the right places, and most importantly, forgiving, being curious about yourself, and welcoming change as an inevitable part of life. You'll realize the magic isn't in controlling everything, but that by letting go of what you can't control, you gain the true freedom to live, create, and find peace. The world will always move outside your wishes, but maturity begins when you accept that. A Stoic is not a cold person, but someone courageous enough to face reality, live proactively, and focus on self-development. Each day, remind yourself, I only need to control what's mine. The rest, let it unfold as it will. That is true power, the starting point of freedom and happiness. No one can live your life for you, nor can anyone control your heart but you. Don't waste another day fighting the whole world. Look inward, master yourself, and let everything else be as it is. This is the true art of living as a mature person, and the path to stop being exhausted by things that never truly belong to you. 2. Letting go of attachment, expectations, and fear of failure. Attachment, expectations, and the fear of failure are huge shadows cast over the lives of many grown men, maybe you, and certainly me in the past. Maybe you've heard somewhere, just give your all, just love, just try your best, and you'll be rewarded. But in reality, sometimes you give a lot, expect a lot, but all you get is coldness, failure, or even the pain of being abandoned. Then you blame yourself, asking, "Am I not good enough? Do I not deserve success or love?" That's a tiring cycle so many people are trapped in for years, especially in a society as competitive and pressured as America today. Stoicism is very clear. The root of suffering lies in excessive attachment to others, to outcomes, to possessions, or to an ideal image of oneself. When you let an outcome define your worth, you're shaken to the core whenever it doesn't turn out right. When you expect someone to always understand you, to always be what you want, you'll be disappointed, upset, and maybe even break relationships if life doesn't go your way. This isn't just limited to romance. It spreads to work, family, and the must-have goals: a beautiful house, a fancy car, and social status. But the truth is, everything changes. Time, circumstances, people are. Nothing is permanent. What you have today could vanish tomorrow in an instant. That's why philosopher Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." Happiness isn't about having more, but about wanting less. This doesn't mean you live passively or aren't allowed to dream. On the contrary, a Stoic is willing to give, contribute, live fully, but always maintains inner stability. They don't let success or failure determine their self-worth, nor let blind attachment pull them into the pit of disappointment. I want you to pause for a moment and look deeply at those times you were ruled by fear of failure. Have you ever delayed starting a new project or plan because you were afraid of doing badly and being laughed at? Have you ever worked yourself to exhaustion just to prove to someone or even yourself that "I'm good enough, I can't afford to fail"? You're not alone. Fear of failure isn't just nervousness before a presentation or exam. It's a deep feeling tied to the belief, if I fail, it means I'm useless, unworthy. Fear of failure makes you procrastinate, become overly perfectionistic, avoid new challenges, or even doubt your own worth. You see your mistakes not as opportunities to learn, but as proof of an irreparable flaw. This vicious cycle grows from childhood, through family expectations, academic pressures, and society's judgments, all the way into adulthood, work, fatherhood, and being the pillar of the family. Try changing your perspective. Failure isn't the end, but just a natural part of living and growing up. Every mistake, every fall brings something to learn. If you keep clinging to the expectation of always succeeding, you lose adaptability, become fragile, and never truly experience inner freedom. This is the spirit I always find in the music of Pearl Jam, an American rock band that was once criticized, boxed in, as incapable of succeeding beyond Nirvana's shadow. In their song Present Tense, they sing, "You can spend your time alone, redigesting past regrets, or you can come to terms and realize you're only chasing shadows behind." Don't let the expectations of society, others, or even yourself become a prison. Happiness, as both Eastern and Western philosophy agree, is simple. To avoid suffering, lessen your attachments. If you have nothing to lose, you have nothing to grieve. When you learn to let go, not because of weakness, but because you know what's worth keeping, and what's time to let go. You'll be freer, lighter, and grow stronger every day. You can practice this starting from small things. Instead of expecting your loved ones to always understand and support you, learn to listen, to love unconditionally, and accept that everyone has their limits and perspectives. Instead of tying your self-worth to work outcomes, focus on effort, perseverance, and attitude towards each challenge. Every time you fail, instead of self-punishment, ask yourself, what did I learn? What can I do better next time? Only then can you truly break free from the shadow of fear of failure. Remember, Stoicism doesn't teach us to be indifferent, but to love, to engage, but always to keep our boundaries. Everything is temporary. Life is a constant stream of change. The harder you try to keep everything unchanged, the more you'll suffer when facing reality. True strength lies in flexibility, in adaptability, in knowing how to give, how to receive, how to let it go at the right time. So today, try letting go of an expectation or forgiving a failure that has haunted you. Don't let external things define you. Your value doesn't lie in success or failure, nor in anyone else's eyes. As long as you live fully in the present, love yourself, and aren't afraid to start again, you've already won. That is true inner freedom, a lasting strength no one can ever take from you. 3. Mastering emotions and reactions. Mastering your emotions isn't about shutting off every feeling, nor is it about pretending to be strong while you're falling apart inside. All of us have been swept away by emotions sometimes just because of someone's careless comment, an unpleasant email, or an old memory rushing back. There are moments when you snap at a loved one for no reason, feel stuck in a dark mood, or try to appear calm while inside you're caught in a storm. That is the real emotional life of a human being, and also the stage where your inner strength is most clearly tested. Stoicism teaches that emotions are signals, not commands. Anger, sadness, fear, or happiness are simply waves rising and falling in the mind. They are neither good nor bad, just a natural part of being human. What matters is recognizing what you're feeling, observing it like an outsider, and consciously choosing your response instead of being dragged around by the emotion. This is the difference between someone who is emotionally mature and someone who is forever trapped in the whirlwind. I used to be the type of person who exploded easily. Just one small issue at work, someone missing a deadline, a reminder from my boss, or a disagreement with a coworker, and I would carry a burning rock in my chest all day. At home, I would take it out on my wife and kids, even though I knew none of them deserved my tiredness and frustration. Sometimes, I tried to suppress everything, telling myself a man shouldn't be weak. But the more I forced it down, the bigger it grew until it eventually erupted, leaving behind regret and cracks in my relationships. That's a painful lesson many adults struggle through. If you don't actively befriend your emotions, they will control you. Modern life makes emotions easily become the driver. Work pressure, relationships, social media, constant news, everything keeps stirring the emotional waters. If you simply react to everything you feel, you will live in chaos, sometimes exploding in anger, sometimes sinking into sadness, sometimes panicking over the smallest thing. There are still days when I get irritated and want to react instantly when something goes wrong. But I've learned something very stoic. Whenever emotions rise, pause, breathe deeply, take a step back, and observe. This emotion is just a visitor. It comes and it goes. My values, my goals, they are the true hosts. This doesn't erase emotion, but it keeps me clear-headed, so I don't cast my frustrations onto others or destroy relationships in moments of weakness. If you live by chasing emotions, your life will be a swaying train crashing unexpectedly into walls. A major psychological study once pointed out, without emotional regulation, people are more prone to anxiety, avoidance, and, in the long term, depression or other mental health issues. You risk being misunderstood, damaging relationships, and slowing your career, all because of a few moments of emotional loss of control. On the other hand, when you learn to consciously observe your emotions, you understand yourself more clearly and live more freely. Stoics don't avoid emotions. They learn to master and guide them, so that no matter how big the wave is, it only passes through rather than drowning them. This is a practice, not an instant formula. Train yourself every day, starting with the smallest moments. A harsh comment, a sad memory, a failure, or even a compliment that makes you overly excited. You can start by keeping an emotional journal every time your mood shifts, spending a few minutes writing down what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and why. Ask yourself, is this emotion truthful? Where does it come from? If I act on it, what will happen? Practicing deep breathing, silent meditation, or walking outdoors when emotions spike is also a simple and effective way to manage yourself. But remember, controlling emotions doesn't mean being cold or detached. Stoics feel the full spectrum of anger, jealousy, joy, and gratitude, but they don't let temporary emotions determine their future. That is steadiness. That is the power of a mature inner life, living authentically without drowning in the waves. The key is, if you don't master your mind, you will forever be its slave. Don't let emotional waves pull you away from your goals, values, and inner peace. Calmness doesn't come from not feeling, but from choosing how you respond to everything that happens. You have the power to choose every day, every moment. You can choose to pause before replying, choose forgiveness instead of resentment, choose patience instead of anger. And trust me, every one of those choices shapes who you become, giving you a life that is not just peaceful, but resilient in the face of storms. Start today, little by little, and you'll see. Mastering emotions and reactions is not a superpower. It's the skill of a grown, self-aware person who knows how to live with themselves and give themselves the best chance to live each day fully. 4. Embracing impermanence and building inner strength. Nothing in this world lasts forever. It's a familiar saying, but few truly accept it when change comes crashing in. Life keeps shifting without asking your permission. Loved ones may leave. Jobs can be lost. A once solid relationship may crumble overnight. And health may become more fragile than you thought. The more you cling to the idea that everything must stay stable, the more fear you'll feel when change arrives. And instead of living fully in each moment, You'll waste your life on worry, regret, or frustration because things didn't go according to plan. Stoicism teaches that true suffering doesn't come from the event itself, but from resisting the impermanence of life. The philosopher Cleanthes once said, "Lead me, Zeus, and you too, destiny, to wherever your decrees have assigned me. I follow readily, but if I choose not, wretched though I am, I must follow still. Fate guides the willing, but drags the unwilling." His point, either we walk with fate willingly, or we get dragged along in pain. Change cannot be avoided. The question is, how will you face it? I know you, just like me, have had moments of disorientation caused by something seemingly small, a breakup, a work issue, or a few words that cut deeper than expected. That feeling is like an undertow pulling you away from inner peace. But if you have the clarity to reflect afterward, you'll notice it was precisely those hardships and losses that trained you in a way no one else could. Practice acknowledging the truth of impermanence. Everything will change, and that is normal. Don't cling to what's already gone, and don't fear what hasn't arrived. When a relationship ends, when work shifts, when old dreams no longer fit, let them flow away like water with appreciation, gratitude, and readiness to release. True strength isn't in controlling everything, but in adapting, shifting with life while holding on to your core values. Let me emphasize, resilience isn't pretending you're not hurt, nor is it gritting your teeth through everything. It's the ability to get up after each fall, face the pain, learn to regulate emotions, and adjust yourself to new conditions. You need self-awareness, knowing what you're thinking, feeling, and how you're reacting. That's the foundation of inner strength. When your mind is chaotic, pause, listen to your emotions, name them, and act from clarity and purpose. Building inner strength is a long journey, starting with emotional discipline, staying steady when provoked or overwhelmed, then self-reflection, understanding your core values and priorities, then setting goals, embracing challenges, practicing self-care, and positive thinking. You also need a connection with those who truly support you, whether it's a close friend, a family member, or simply a deeper connection with yourself through quiet moments. These are the harbors where you heal, adapt, and grow after every storm. And remember, no one escapes dark days. Even Zeno of Citium, founder of Stoicism, failed and lost all his wealth in a shipwreck as a young man. But from that rock-bottom moment, he began again seeking wisdom, training his mind, and became a symbol of strength beyond adversity. Zeno's story reminds us, hardship doesn't bury you, only you decide whether you fall or rise stronger. Many people ask me, how do I stop fearing the future? How do I stop being haunted by the past? There's no simple answer. But you can start with the smallest act of intention. Each morning, remind yourself that surprises may come, and you will meet them willingly. When you fail, see it as a lesson and ask yourself, what did I learn? What will I change? Who do I want to become after this? Small habits, exercise, meditation, and writing down daily positives help build inner strength so that when challenges come, you won't tremble anymore. Don't fear impermanence. Don't fight against the flow of life. Open yourself to it. Use every challenge as a chance to forge yourself, build resilience, and nurture gratitude for even the unexpected. The journey of cultivating inner strength begins with the courage to admit, everything will change, but I will keep growing, and I will remain free in my own soul. And that is a strength no one can ever take from you. Do you have any personal strategies for overcoming loss, worry, or fear of change? Share your story, feelings, or advice in the comments below, because your experience might inspire someone else on their journey. 5. Living proactively, cultivating independence, and developing inner freedom. Imagine you are the captain of a small boat in the vast ocean. The waves are high, the winds are strong. Sometimes you can't control the direction of the wind or predict when the next storm will hit. But what you can always control is your own steering, your own sail, and how you respond to each wave. This is the philosophy of proactive living, independence, and building inner freedom that Stoicism emphasizes. A way of life where you are no longer dependent on the gaze or judgment of others, no longer chasing trends or invisible expectations, but deciding for yourself what truly deserves your energy and time. Have you ever noticed yourself feeling exhausted just from trying to please everyone? Sometimes you put on roles that aren't really yours, just to be accepted, to be loved, or at least not to be judged. But the truth is, the more you chase validation from the outside, the more you lose your inner voice, where your core values, goals, and beliefs truly reside. Stoic philosophy isn't about being selfish or separating yourself from society, but about living honestly with yourself, daring to proactively choose the path you believe is right, daring to say no to what no longer fits, and knowing how to be satisfied with yourself even when nobody else understands or recognizes you. Remember, when you let go of the need for external validation, you unleash a tremendous source of energy to develop yourself. Instead of spreading your time across countless tasks just because everyone's doing it, you focus on selecting what is truly worthwhile to you. Living proactively doesn't mean you always have to be busy, but it means knowing your core values, knowing what's truly important. A proactive man will not let a crowded schedule or social media dictate his mind. Instead, he designs his life according to his own goals, taking responsibility for every decision he makes. You can learn this from the story of Richard Feynman, physicist, writer, Nobel laureate, and a symbol of intellectual freedom. Feynman never chased the expectations of the scientific community of his time. When everyone expected him to be serious about his career, he allowed himself to spend hours studying soap bubbles, playing music, learning to draw, and always kept a childlike curiosity about the world. Feynman once said, "I learned very early the difference between knowing the name of something and knowing something." He didn't live to please anyone else, but lived fully with his own passion, values, and purpose. That proactive and free way of thinking made him an inspiration, not only to scientists, but to anyone yearning to live their own life. To live proactively and independently means daring to choose your direction, even knowing there will be times of loneliness, disagreement, or misunderstanding. Yet, it's in those alone moments that you can really hear your inner voice, renew your energy, review your journey, and clarify what you truly want to aim for. Stoicism calls this solitude, not loneliness, but a space to nurture freedom, strength, and inner clarity. This not only helps you mature, but also helps you resist the turbulence of modern society, where everyone is always in a hurry, easily swept away by news, opinions, and endless comparisons. When you take control of your choices, you're no longer a victim of circumstances, no longer blaming fate or complaining about having no choice. On the contrary, you become the architect of your own life, building a meaningful existence step by step in your own way. Ask yourself every day, is this really important to me? Am I doing this for a core value? If no one sees, if no one praises me, would I still want to do it? When you form this habit, you will gradually stop tormenting yourself about external things and focus more on small joys, steady progress, and self-generated satisfaction. That is the kind of inner freedom that money, fame, or recognition from others cannot buy. Living proactively, independently, and building inner freedom is a journey no one can walk for you. But trust me, every day you choose to listen to yourself, to act on your values, you've taken another step on the true path to happiness. And in the end, no one can ever take away the freedom in the soul of someone brave enough to steer their own ship of life. 6. The power of stillness and the discipline of choosing what matters. In a world that is always noisy and in constant motion, stillness has almost become a luxury. You wake up and immediately check your phone, scrolling through notifications, messages, emails, social media, all pulling you away from your inner peace. At work, you're swept up in the cycle of tasks, competition, conflicting opinions, expectations from bosses, colleagues, and society, always having to respond, answer, explain, and justify. Even at home, few dare to turn off their phones and sit quietly for a few minutes, just to listen to their breath, to the beat of their own heart. Have you noticed, amid all that noise, the most important thing, your inner voice, your real sense of what you want, is what gets lost the easiest? The power of stillness in Stoic philosophy is not about running away from the world, but about proactively creating pauses, quiet spaces to filter everything, to carefully choose what is truly worth your attention. It's the art of detachment, letting go of unnecessary concerns, consciously selecting information, emotions, and opinions, so you can hold firm to your long-term goals and core values without being swept away by the turbulence out there. When you learn to listen to yourself in silence, you discover what really brings you happiness and what is just societal pressure or fleeting fear. You might be surprised to know that modern science has proven the power of stillness. A study by Harvard University, Matthew A. Killingsworth and Daniel T. Gilbert, 2010, showed that people who constantly let their minds wander, distracted by too many external stimuli, have much lower levels of happiness than those who can consciously focus, slow down, and choose what to pay attention to. The study also revealed that the more time you spend mind-wandering, letting your mind chase after information, worries, and trivial thoughts, the more anxious, stressed, and dissatisfied you'll feel. Meanwhile, moments of stillness, even just a few minutes of meditation, a slow walk, or sitting quietly doing nothing, actually bring real clarity and peace to your inner life. You don't need to leave the city for the forest or turn off your phone for a whole week. Start with small pauses every day. In the morning, instead of scrolling through the news while eating, sit quietly, savor your coffee, your breath, the light outside the window. During the workday, take 5 minutes to sit quietly, breathe deeply, and review your goals for today. When you get a negative comment, instead of rushing to react, pause, observe your feelings. Ask yourself, is this really important to me? Does it connect to my core values and long-term goals? If not, let it go like a passing breeze. Choosing what matters means daring to say no to what isn't necessary, daring to cut out relationships, tasks, or habits that no longer serve you. It could mean not caring about a stranger's online judgment, not joining endless debates, not forcing yourself to meet standards that aren't yours. You'll find that the more you simplify your life, the more energy you have for what truly matters: family, health, personal projects, time for yourself. Stillness also makes you more immune to public pressure and sudden emotions. You no longer react impulsively to criticism, no longer get swept up in the tides of public opinion, but can observe, reflect, and respond from a more solid place. That steadiness doesn't make you cold, it makes you strong, clear, and more inspiring to others. Believe me, if you give yourself just a few minutes of stillness each day, you will gradually find your own compass amid life's vast ocean. Every decision, every reaction, every goal becomes clearer and more purposeful. You'll stop living on autopilot and wasting energy on what's unnecessary. Instead, you become the active creator of your life, step by step, steady and at peace. The power of stillness does not come from the outside world, but begins with your resolve to pause, to choose, to stay true to what truly matters. And you'll see, the quieter and more discerning you become, the richer, deeper, and more meaningful your life will be, beyond anything the frantic world out there can offer. After all, the journey of detaching yourself from what you can't control is not about giving up, but about growing up from within. You've seen, only when you focus on mastering yourself, letting go of blind attachments, mastering your emotions, accepting impermanence, living proactively and independently, and seeking stillness, do you truly find inner freedom in a chaotic modern world. Stoicism doesn't make you cold. It teaches you to love, to adapt, and to remain steadfast to your true values. Every choice, every mindful moment is a solid step forward on the journey of mastering your own life, a journey no one can take for you, but one you can always begin again right now. Have you ever faced a challenge that made you realize you needed to let go of control? Or do you have a personal story or insight about inner growth you'd like to share? Don't hesitate to leave a comment below. Experience might give someone else new strength. If you found this video helpful, hit like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next Stoic lessons waiting for you at the end of this video. The journey of growth never ends. Join me in continuing to explore it.